Hey, and welcome back to the Powerful Marketing Tips Podcast. Today, we'll dive into the concepts shared in the second chapter of The Greatest Marketer, meaning we'll talk all about strategy. A quick disclaimer, I am not an actual person, but AI-generated podcast host. However, I can assure you that the ideas discussed in this episode are all very much real, and I believe they are also very practical and valuable for marketers and business owners who are looking for better business alignment. By the way, we have already discussed Chapter 1 previously on the podcast, so if you missed that, I suggest you to go and listen to it and then come back and listen to this as well. Okay, let's go.
It's great to be back. And honestly, Chapter 2 gets right into what I think is maybe the biggest problem in business today. It's this idea of the disconnect.
And just so everyone's clear, we're not talking about like a bad Wi-Fi signal here.
No, not at all.
We're talking about that really awkward silence between the marketing team and, the CEO's office.
Exactly. It's a total language barrier. And it's costing companies a fortune. There's this one statistic in the text from the Fournier's group that it really hits you.
Oh, I know the one you mean.
They found that 70% of CEOs have completely lost trust in their marketers to actually deliver growth.
70%. That's basically a vote of no confidence. It sounds like CEOs look at marketing and they just see this black box where money goes in, some pretty pictures come out, but where's the growth?
That's the heart of it. The C-suite sees marketing as a cost center, the make it pop department.
Right.
Not a strategic investment. They see the budget just kind of vanishing into brand awareness while they're up at night worrying about revenue. So the whole mission of this deep dive really is to figure out how to flip that script.
How do you get marketing from being, the kids' table to a seat at the main boardroom table?
That's the goal. Turn it from a cost into a growth engine. But the book makes it really clear you don't do that by just, making better ads. It starts way deeper.
It starts with the toolkit itself.
It does. It starts by admitting that the tools we all learned back in school, they're just not enough anymore.
Okay, so let's unpack that. I mean, anyone who took a Business 101 class probably remembers the classic 4 Ps of marketing.
Oh, yeah. Product, price, place, promotion.
It's been the gospel for decades.
And look, the book argues the 4 Ps aren't necessarily wrong. They're just fossilized. They were built for a time when you made a thing, you put a price on it, you stuck it on a shelf, and you ran a newspaper ad.
A completely different world.
Totally. Today, we need what the book calls PX.
PX. Okay, that sounds like a secret formula from a movie. What's the X factor?
The X is all the human stuff we usually ignore. I mean, it adds the basics like people, process, physical evidence. But the real game changers, the things that actually fix that trust gap with the CEO, are psychology, patience, and persistence.
Okay, let's double click on psychology. How is that different from just promotion? Isn't good promotion just applied psychology?
You'd think so, but often it isn't. Promotion is usually just shouting about features. Psychology is about understanding fears. The book uses a great example of selling a digital course.
Okay, let's break that down. So old 4PS model, the product is the course videos, the price is, say, $500. Simple.
Exactly. It's just a transaction. But with the PX model, you have to think about the psychology. The person isn't buying videos. They're buying a transformation.
They want to get from point A to point B in their life.
Right. But, and this is so important, they are terrified they won't finish it. They've got imposter syndrome. They're worried they'll waste their money.
So the strategy itself has to deal with that fear.
Precisely. And that's where physical evidence comes in. You can't touch a digital course, right?
Yeah.
So you need social proof. You need testimonials, case studies, all this evidence that this thing actually works. And then you need persistence. You have to commit to their success after they buy.
I see. So it's not about selling a file anymore. It's about guaranteeing a result. And that's a whole different level of commitment.
And that commitment is totally impossible if your own team is a mess. Which brings us to the buttoning the jacket analogy. I think this is one of the best images in the whole book.
I loved this one. It's so simple, but it's so painful when you realize you've done it. The idea is if you take the first button of your jacket and you put it in the second buttonhole,
the whole thing is crooked. Doesn't matter how nice the buttons are, how expensive the jacket is.
the whole thing just sits wrong.
The result is a mess. And in business terms, those expensive buttons are your tools, your talent, your budget. But that first button, that's your alignment with the core strategy.
And if that's off, everything else you do is just slightly off kilter.
Correct. We see companies doing amazing tactical work, incredible videos, perfect SEO, but it's all misaligned with the actual business goals. They're buttoning the wrong holes.
This is basically the story of Marge from the book, isn't it? The marketing manager who's just constantly on a hamster wheel.
We all know a Marge. We've all been a Marge at some point. She's working 60-hour weeks, she's churning out content, she's buttoning faster than anybody. But because she's not aligned with what the CEO actually wants,
She feels totally undervalued.
and the CEO looks at all the work and asks, so what? What did we get for all that? And Marge has no answer.
And the really tough part is that the solution for Marge isn't to work even harder.
No, not at all. The solution is to stop. You have to unbutton the entire jacket and start again from the top.
Which is terrifying for people because you've already put in so much work, you feel like you can't go back.
It feels like you're losing ground. But the book says diluted focus gives diluted results. If you don't fix that first button, you're just running faster in the wrong direction.
Okay, so if we're brave enough to unbutton the jacket, what's the blueprint for putting it back on correctly? The book introduces this framework, the business house. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, this is the absolute core of the chapter.
Yeah.
If you remember one thing, remember this. Picture your business is a house, and every house has to have a foundation.
Okay.
In this model, the foundation is PX. All those principles we just talked about, psychology, patience, your core values.
Right. So if your foundation is based on get-rich-quick schemes, the whole house is going to sink eventually.
It's just a matter of time. The foundation is your strategy and your culture. Now, sitting on top of that foundation are the walls. The walls are sales, marketing, and client service.
3 walls.
But, and this is the key, they are walls of the same house. They have to be connected. In most companies, they act like they're in different buildings entirely.
That's the classic silo problem. Marketing generates a lead, throws it over the wall to sales. Sales makes a bunch of promises they can't keep to close the deal, and then client service is stuck dealing with the fallout.
And everyone is blaming everyone else. The business house idea forces them to have a shared rhythm. If sales ignores the leads from marketing, a crack forms in the wall. If client service can't deliver on what sales promised, the wall crumbles.
So what's the roof? What's the whole point of the house?
The roof is the client journey. The whole reason the foundation and the walls exist is to protect the customer's experience from the very beginning to the very end.
I love that visual. So if there's a crack between sales and service, the roof leaks on the customer.
And then the customer gets wet. And then they leave and go to the house next door where the roof is solid.
It really hammers home why you can't just do marketing in a bubble. It all has to work together. Okay, so speaking of the client journey, the book uses this really funny, kind of cringy analogy for how not to do it. The first date proposal.
Oh, this one is great because it's so painfully true. Imagine you and I are on a first date. Nice restaurant, conversation's going well, there's a good vibe.
Sounds good so far.
It is. But then, before the main course even shows up, I get down on one knee, pull out a ring, and ask you to marry me.
Whoa. Yeah, I'm out of there. I'm calling a cab and blocking your number immediately.
Of course you are. It's way too much, way too soon. It's aggressive. And yet businesses do this every single day.
What's the business version of that?
You meet someone at a trade show. You talk for 5 minutes. That's the first date. You swap business cards. And then the next morning, bam, there's a giant sales proposal in their inbox asking for a huge commitment.
We try to skip from hello to I do in one step.
Exactly. We mistake polite interest for total commitment. The book says you have to respect the natural order of things, from curiosity to interest to trust, and only then, finally, to commitment.
So we have to actually date our customers.
You have to nurture that relationship. Send them something valuable, check in, show them you understand their problems without immediately asking for the sale. You build trust so that when you do ask, they actually want to say yes.
And that idea of nurturing leads perfectly into the next big concept shift, which is moving away from the sales funnel toward the flywheel. Everyone talks about funnels. Why does the book say they're flawed?
The problem with a funnel is gravity. I mean, think about it. You pour leads in the top, and they fall out the bottom as customers. And then what happens?
They're just on the floor?
Pretty much, yeah.
Huh.
The process is over. You've won. It's purely transactional. It implies the customer doesn't matter anymore once they've paid.
It's a churn and burn model. Thanks for your money. Bye.
Exactly. But a flywheel is different. It stores and builds momentum. It keeps spinning. It has 4 stages. First is inform. That's marketing. Second is engage and convert. That's sales. And the book has this great line about sales.
What is it?
To deserve, you need to serve.
Oh, I like that. To deserve, you need to serve. It's not about taking, it's about earning.
Precisely. Then comes the third stage, the one funnels ignore. Follow up,
Well,
making sure the customer is actually happy and successful. And that leads to the fourth stage, quality and advocacy.
this is where the real magic happens, right?
This is everything. If you do those first three stages well, your happy customers become your best advocates. They
Wow.
start pushing the flywheel for you, they bring in new people, and the wheel spins faster and faster with less effort from you over time.
So your best retention strategy is also your best acquisition strategy.
100%. But, let's be real. Sometimes things go wrong. Sometimes the wheel gets stuck.
Right. An unhappy customer, what do you do then?
Well, you don't let the flywheel just grind to a halt. The book mentions a technique from brands like the Ritz-Carlton. That's an acronym. L.A.S.T accusation. Listen, apologize, solve, and thank.
Okay, listen, apologize, solve. That all makes sense, but thank, why would I thank someone who's angry with me?
Because they just gave you a gift. Think about it. Most unhappy customers don't complain. They just leave.
They just disappear.
And they tell all their friends never to do business with you. But the person who complains is giving you a chance. They're showing you exactly where the crack in your business house is so you can fix it.
So they're basically free consultants.
The best kind. If you genuinely thank them and fix the problem, they often become your most passionate supporters because you showed them you actually care.
That's a huge shift in perspective,
Yeah.
turning a crisis into an opportunity. Okay, one last thing I want to touch on is this idea of consistency.
Ah, yes, the dreaded C word.
The book mentions that people fear it because it sounds like being on a treadmill forever, like I have to post 3 times a day or my business will fail.
Right, but that's not consistency, that's intensity. And intensity always leads to burnout.
So what's the difference? What's real consistency?
Real consistency is about reliability. It's about rhythm. It's better to send one amazing newsletter every single month on time than to send 10 mediocre ones one week and then disappear for 3 months. It's about being dependable.
It goes back to the dating thing. You don't have to text them every 5 minutes, but you better show up for the dates you schedule.
Exactly. And that requires planning. There's a great Eisenhower quote in the book. Plans are worthless, but planning is everything.
I love that. It sounds like a contradiction, but it's so true. The piece of paper might be useless the minute you start, but the act of planning is what prepares you.
It forces you to think,
Hmm.
which I guess brings us to the elephant in the room,
AI.
AI. With all these tools, I can just ask it to write me a marketing strategy.
Yeah.
So do I still need to do all this hard work of building a business house?
That's the billion-dollar question.
And the answer from the book is a definite yes. More than ever, actually. It warns that AI is a tool for efficiency, not for strategy.
So AI can help you build the walls faster, but it can't design the foundation.
Perfect analogy. AI can write the emails, it can analyze the data, but it has no human intuition. It doesn't understand your customers' deepest fears. It doesn't know your company's why.
So if you use AI without a solid strategy in place first,
You're just buttoning the jacket wrong at high speed. You're just making misaligned content faster than ever before. You're scaling your own chaos.
buttoning the jacket wrong at high speed. That's a terrifying image. But it captures it perfectly. It all comes back to getting that first button right.
It really does. At the end of the day, business is just people helping other people solve problems.
Hmm.
If you lose sight of that simple truth, no amount of tech is going to save you.
What a fantastic way to frame it. Go back to the house, check the foundation, check the walls.
And make sure the roof isn't leaking.
Exactly.
Before we wrap up, there's one last thought I'd like to leave everyone with. We've talked a lot about the business house, but maybe think for a second about the neighborhood. When you get your strategy right, when your foundation is strong and your walls are aligned, you don't just build a better business for yourself. You actually raise the standard for everyone. You force your competitors to treat their customers better.
Yeah.
You help create a market where trust, not just attention, is the real currency. So fixing your own strategy isn't just about your bottom line. It's about building a better, more honest business ecosystem for everyone.
Wow, what a valuable discussion it has been, but I think it's time to wrap it up for today. So, to recap, the core ideas that came up in today's episode were the PBEX framework, adding psychology and patience to the mix to understand the human behind the transaction. We talked about the business house concept, aligning sales, marketing, and service so the walls support the roof of the client journey. We discussed the dating analogy, please, no proposals on the first date, build a relationship first, and finally, the client journey flywheel, focusing on attention and turning customers into advocates rather than just dumping them out of a funnel. If you'd like to explore these ideas in more depth, then I recommend buying The Greatest Marketer, available on Amazon. You can learn more about the book on thegreatestmarketer.com. Thanks for listening, and until next time when we'll tackle Chapter 3, Marketing. Take care.